When you think about empires built on a single brilliant idea, we have to talk about the Mortons. And it all kind of crystallizes with this one piece of news.
A truly stunning piece of news.
The sale of a home, a half-acre oceanfront compound in Malibu that sold for $110 million.
$110 million. I mean, that's not just a record-breaking sale.
No.
It's the result of decades of high-stakes, high-glamour empire building, and that was the home of Peter Morton.
Peter Morton, a name you might not hear every day, but he is, without a doubt, the quiet architect behind a global empire built on music, money, and, well, really good food.
We're talking about the man who co-founded Hard Rock Cafe.
Exactly. And that's what we do here on StarScope Report. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And this story is so complex. You have this brand that's in, 74 countries now, owned by the Seminole Tribe of Florida.
A massive global entity.
But the story of how that wealth was created, I mean, it's full of calculated risks, huge controversies, and some really unexpected human drama.
So on this deep dive, we're going to unpack how 3 generations of one family basically defined modern entertainment dining. We've got sources on everything from the Playboy clubs to, well, billion-dollar exits. Okay, so let's get into it from the beginning. This Hard Rock dynasty, it wasn't a flash in the pan.
Oh, not at all. It's a business blueprint, really, passed down through generations. And to understand Peter, you absolutely have to start with his father.
Arnold Morton.
Arnie, yeah. He's the foundational figure here. Back in the 1960s, he was the guy who mastered merging, upscale dining with a very exclusive concept.
And he was Hugh Hefner's guy, right?
He was Hefner's right-hand man, executive vice president of Playboy Enterprises.
So he wasn't just like some manager. He was the operational brain.
He was the brain behind the whole thing. Arnie developed the worldwide chain of Playboy clubs. Think about that model for a second.
The exclusivity, the brand identity with the bunny costume.
Yeah. Exactly. And integrating dining and entertainment into one, high-margin package.
Yeah.
That experience was just invaluable.
And then he proved he could do it on his own. He founded Morton's Steakhouse.
Right, which became this huge symbol of classic, high-end American dining.
So he had the formula down.
He understood every demographic. The
Yeah.
exclusive club, the fancy steakhouse. He even inspired Chicago's Taste of Chicago Festival. He just got hospitality on every level.
Okay, so Arnie creates the blueprint,
Okay.
and then his son Peter, he takes that knowledge, the understanding of atmosphere, concept, all of it,
Yeah.
and applies it to a totally new generation.
And that pivot happens in 1971. Peter Morton goes to London. He sees this hunger for American culture, and he partners with Isaac Tigrett,
And that's the birth of Hard Rock.
the very first Hard Rock Cafe in Mayfair. And they started with, $5,000?
It's 5,000.
And their goal was revolutionary for London at the time. They wanted to create a place where, quote, bankers did not hang out with bakers.
So it was about breaking down those old social barriers.
Yeah. It was about unifying people through a love of American music and American food.
So what was it that made it catch on so fast? I mean, how did they pivot into collectibles and memorabilia?
That was the absolute genius of it. They weren't just a restaurant, they were building a cultural experience. And the real turning point was 1979.
The Eric Clapton guitar.
The Eric Clapton guitar. He just gave it to them to hang over his favorite stool. It wasn't some calculated corporate move.
It was completely organic.
Totally. And they immediately understood the power of that, of having these authentic, appreciating assets right there in the restaurant.
And the T-shirt. You have to talk about the T-shirt.
The T-shirt might be the most brilliant, low-cost marketing tool ever. I mean, think about it.
It's just a simple gray T-shirt.
But it's a high-margin product that turned every single customer into a walking billboard for your brand all over the world. You could eat a burger and walk out wearing a piece of the club. That's how a cafe in London became an 88,000-piece memorabilia collection and a global phenomenon. So that brings us to the next chapter. How do you turn that cultural phenomenon into, over $1 billion?
Right, the monetization.
Yeah.
Peter Morton didn't just build it, he mastered the art of the strategic exit.
He absolutely did.
Okay, so let's break this down for everyone listening. There are a few major deals here. Let's start with exit number 1.
Exit 1 is 1996. Morton sells Hard Rock America, that's 13 restaurants and a few franchises, to the Rank Group.
And the price tag.
$410 million. In cash. So that one deal secures his fortune from the cafe side of the business.
But he kept the riskiest part, right? He held on to the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Vegas.
He did. He'd only opened it the year before, in '95.
That seems like a huge gamble. Why keep the hotel, the most volatile asset, for another decade?
Well, it shows his ambition. The Hard Rock was the world's first rock and roll themed hotel. It was a direct challenge to the old school Vegas vibe.
It was for a younger crowd,
Yeah.
Generation X.
Exactly. He knew he had a unique concept on prime real estate, and he was willing to bet on it. And that bet only scratches the surface of the drama that property generated.
Oh yeah, let's get into the drama, because that concept was deliberately edgy, almost chaotic.
To say the least, the financial success was always sort of shattered by these regulatory battles.
The famous pool parties, rehab.
The rehab pool parties, the nightclubs, that edgy, hedonistic atmosphere was the whole brand, but it was also a magnet for trouble.
And we're talking about serious headline-making trouble.
We are. The resort got hit with a $650,000 fine for drug violations.
Wow.
At the time, that was the biggest fine of its kind in Nevada history. This wasn't a slap on the wrist.
And then there was the advertising, the topless billboard, the tagline, "There's always a temptation to cheat."
Yep. That led to a very public legal fight in 2004 with the Nevada Gaming Control Board over free speech. He was willing to pay hundreds of thousands in fines to protect that rebellious image.
So he fights the regulators, cements the hotel's legendary status, and then he makes his move.
Then he executes Exit 2 in 2006.
For how much?
He sells the whole thing, the hotel, the casino, plus 23 acres of land for expansion for a massive $770 million.
You add that to the first $410 million.
And suddenly that $100 million Malibu house makes a lot more sense.
Just to close the loop, the brand itself, Hard Rock International.
That's the final piece. The Seminole Tribe of Florida bought the global brand, the IP, everything, in 2007 for $965 million.
So they took the concept the Mortons perfected and turned it into a global casino powerhouse.
That's it. From Arnie's exclusive clubs to Peter's rock and roll diners, that's the full financial arc.
And if you're appreciating how we're untangling these billion-dollar deals, you should definitely hit that subscribe button, because we've got one final thread that ties all this wealth to a really profound family tragedy.
Yeah.
So we've traced this incredible financial success. Arnie builds the foundation. Peter monetizes the culture. But the third generation of this dynasty, they face a challenge that all the money in the world couldn't stop.
And that brings us to Harry Morton, Peter's son.
A third-generation restaurateur.
Right. He founded the Pink Taco chain. She owned the Viper Room in L.A. He was deep in the family business.
And the news of his death in 2019 was just so shocking.
It was, because of his age, his health. He died so suddenly at just 38. He was a triathlete, running these successful businesses.
Seemed perfectly healthy.
It was a sudden cardiac event. The coroners found undiagnosed coronary artery disease, some other complications.
And that's the tragic part. Sudden cardiovascular death. It accounts for nearly half of all cardiovascular deaths, and it often strikes men in their 30s and 40s with no warning signs.
Right.
It's just a stark reminder. This family built an empire on spectacle and vitality, but they were powerless against this silent, unseen vulnerability.
And this is where the story pivots to, I think, the most important part of the legacy. The family responded by creating the Harry Morton Congenital Heart Disease Screening Fund at UCLA Health.
So they turned that loss into something proactive.
Exactly. They're focusing on early detection and research to help other families avoid the same fate. That philanthropy, that might be the most important contribution of the third generation.
And if you're loving these Hollywood twists and turns, make sure you're subscribed. We've got one final complicated twist coming up next.
Because the Morton name is still very much in the headlines.
It is. Peter Morton, even now at 78, is in a high-profile relationship with the actress Rebecca Gayheart.
And it's a complicated situation.
Very. She's still legally married to the actor Eric Dane.
She actually dismissed their divorce filing just before he revealed his ALS diagnosis. She's described the whole dynamic as super complicated, saying he's still, our family.
It just shows. A man who mastered billion-dollar exits now has to navigate this really public, really scrutinized personal life. The story never really ends.
So when you look back at everything, the core lesson is pretty clear. The Mortons wrote the playbook for modern, concept-driven hospitality, from Playboy's exclusivity to Hard Rock's accessibility.
And created just massive wealth in the process.
Yes, that $110 million home proves that.
But Peter Morton built his brand on the motto, love all, serve all. He created these places for everyone. And yet, the pressures of that empire, the genetic lottery, it led to this profound private tragedy. It really makes you think.
It does. It raises a question about what happens next. Now that the Hard Rock brand is owned by the Seminole Tribe, what does that shift tell us about the future of managing these legacy brands in hospitality?
That is definitely something to mull over. You've been listening to StarScope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.